I'm replacing my old water heater with a Reliance gas water heater with a tank and atmospheric venting. I'm going to show an overview of the steps and some products to make the job easier. This is the old tank. Turn off the gas valve to the water heater. Turn off the water to the water heater. I also have a saddle valve for my humidifier, which I'm going to replace. Open the hot side of a faucet. Connect a garden hose to the drain valve on the bottom of the water heater. Drain the water heater to a floor drain or to 5-gallon buckets. I have solid black gas pipe, so I'm disconnecting the union. Use 2 pipe wrenches or large adjustable pliers. If you have a flexible gas connector, unscrew the nuts on the gas connector. I'm going to be using utility rope to support the vent pipe when I disconnect the vent pipe from the draft hood. Unscrew the sheet metal screws holding the vent pipe to the draft hood and remove the section above the water heater. I have unions connected to the copper water pipe. Use 2 pipe wrenches or 2 large adjustable pliers to disconnect the unions. If you have soldered copper pipe and no unions, use a tubing cutter to cut the pipe. If you have flexible water connectors, unscrew the nuts. Support the water lines if needed. Remove the discharge pipe from the old tank if you plan on reusing it. I'm removing the black pipe from the old gas control because I'll be reusing some of the parts. Now I can remove the old tank. I'm going to be replacing the saddle valve with a 1/4 turn T-valve and the shutoff valve. The push-fit shutoff valve that I'm using has a mark to indicate how far the pipe should be inserted, so I'm marking the pipe before I cut it. Because I'm replacing the valve to the water heater, I had to turn off the main water valve for the house. I'm using a tubing cutter to cut the copper pipe. For a push-fit connector, you want a clean, straight cut for a secure connection. Deburr the end of the pipe so it doesn't damage the O-ring in the valve. Push the valve onto the pipe fully. This valve uses a clip to secure it, and this valve can rotate after it's been installed. I'm removing the top half of the old union with a tubing cutter on the hot side. Line up the new water heater under the water pipes. I'm installing dielectric unions to connect the metal nipples on the top of the tank to the copper pipe to help prevent corrosion. To connect the female side of the union to the nipples on the tank, use plumber's pipe thread sealant paste or plumber's tape on the male thread. If you're using plumber's tape, wrap it clockwise 3 to 5 times around the nipple. Tighten this side of the union down with a pipe wrench or large adjustable pliers. To connect my new push-fit T-valve for my humidifier's 1/4-inch tubing, I measured for a length of copper pipe. Cut the pipe to length and deburr the ends. Push the pipe and the valve fully for secure connection. These valves require clips once they're in place. I attach the union to the cold side nipple, and I'm measuring how much pipe I'll need between the T-valve and the brass shoulder of the union. I'm going to be using just for copper to bond the copper pipe to the brass shoulder on the union rather than soldering. It sets up in 10 seconds and holds 200 psi in 7 minutes, and it holds 500 psi in 60 minutes. Use 60 grit emery cloth on the outside of the copper pipe. Use 60 grit emery cloth on the inside of the connector. Apply a bead of the just for copper on the inside of the connector and apply a bead completely around the outside of the copper pipe. Insert the pipe and twist. Position the parts within 10 seconds, then leave it undisturbed for 1 minute. You can work with the parts in 7 minutes. Tighten down the union with 2 wrenches or adjustable pliers. Attach a discharge pipe to the temperature and pressure relief valve. The female side of the valve is 3/4 inch IPS. Don't reduce the size. Use a pipe that can withstand 250 degrees Fahrenheit like copper or PEX. It should end no more than 6 inches above the floor or a drain. I turned back on the main water valve and the valve to the water heater to fill the tank. Leave the hot side of a faucet open. When the water starts coming out of the faucet, let it run for around 3 minutes to make sure all the air is out of the tank. The new tank doesn't line up, so I'm able to reuse the old black pipe. And rather than buying additional black pipe, I'm going to use a flexible gas connector. I'm reusing the pipe and the T from the old gas control. Apply plumber's sealant paste or tape to the male threads. Tighten it to the gas control. Hold the gas control with a wrench to prevent any damage. Add a drip leg, which is a 3 to 6 inch pipe with a cap on the bottom of the T. This prevents debris and moisture from damaging the gas control. I'm removing the pipe coming off the gas valve so I can connect the flexible gas connector. The fittings have a male pipe side and a flare side. If you have safety fittings, make note of the direction of the gas flow. Use plumber's paste or tape on the male pipe side. Don't use any paste or tape on the flare side. It could prevent the connection from sealing properly. Tighten down the fitting to the valve. Connect a fitting to the top of the T. Connect the gas connector to the fittings. Don't over-tighten the nuts. Turn on the gas valve. Use pipe leak detector to make sure all your connections are airtight and not leaking. It will show bubbles if the connection needs to be tightened. Turn off the gas and tighten the connections if needed, then reapply leak detector. Connect the draft hood. This one has slots that it locks into. Some are held in place with sheet metal screws. Connect your vent pipe and secure it with sheet metal screws. Check your manual for the recommended slope, for example, an upward slope of 1/4 inch per foot. For this Reliance water heater, you need to make sure the air filter is properly seated in the base ring. This water heater has a Honeywell electronic gas control. To light the pilot, turn the control knob to pilot, Press in on the control knob and hold it down. Press in on the igniter every second or two until you see the status light start to flash, and this could take 60 seconds or longer. Once the status light starts to flash, release the control knob and adjust it to the temperature you want. After the burner has been operating for about 5 minutes, check the draft. Light a match, blow it out, and hold it about an inch away from the opening under the draft hood. The smoke should be drawn into the draft hood. I used a tubing cutter to cut off the sleeve going to the old saddle valve. I put on the nut and the sleeve to the new quarter turn valve and fully inserted the tubing, then tightened down the nut. In most communities, you'll need a permit to replace a water heater. Check with your town about codes and requirements to install a gas water heater and read the manual for your model.